My name is Peter Prager. I'm the winemaker here at Prager Winery and Port Works. I am the person who is in charge of doing the putting the crush together and sourcing the fruit and picking out the barrels and how long we're going to be aging the wines for, and putting the final blends together and putting bottling all together actually also. Back in the mid-70s, my father and mother decided they wanted to move to the Napa Valley. Dad wanted to start a winery. And so in 1977, my brother and I moved here to the valley, while my older brother and sisters and mom stayed back in Southern California and sold the house. We came up here and got prepared the house up here. So that was the beginning of my senior year in high school, which was kind of a culture shock at the time. You think it's country now, you should have seen it 36 years ago. But I fit in, it was fine, there's no major scars. So, and then in 1979, we actually got the winery started. My father decided when we first did the winery that he wanted to specialize in ports because he knew they could be done well here in California, and no one else was doing it here in the valley. So we didn't want to do the mainstream Cabernet, Chardonnay, because there's a lot of good ones around here, and why compete with everybody else? So we sort of found our own little niche. Dad took a couple courses on winemaking. He knew how it's supposed to taste, so we started. And in the beginning there was a couple rough spots. Not all the wines were up to snuff. So he was the winemaker, and my brothers and I were sort of the helpers here, and we did the cellar work. We helped him with crush and all the things that go along with that. And then in the mid-80s, I decided I want to be the winemaker eventually here. So I went off to college and got my degree in enology, which is the science of fermentation. And then back in 1995, I took over as winemaker here at Prager Winery and Port Works. There's a lot of other wineries producing port, but they do pretty much one style. Where we do about 5 or 6 different styles here. Take this one for instance, which is I think my favorite port we produce here. This is made from Cabernet. This was aged then for 10.5 years in the barrel, so it's our 10-year-old tawny. And this is just that 10 years, it really picks up a lot of flavors. And you don't find too many ports like this here in the valley. No one's willing to wait 10 years to age a wine to get it out onto the market. Most people think that with this style of wine, we pick our fruit very, very sweet, which we don't. We are harvesting our fruit pretty much the same time as everyone else is harvesting for their table wine. Just we have the luxury of being able to stop it whenever we want and at whatever sugar we want to, because we have the 169 proof unaged brandy. Now, our one and only estate vineyard is located right here in St. Helena, just about a quarter mile up the road. We have been harvesting this fruit since about 1981. It's the Petite Sirah vineyard. We now lease the land and farm the vineyard. We lease it from Dr. Palladini, hence the name Palladini Vineyards. The fruit from that vineyard is just incredible, because for about a 5-mile radius around here, you'll find, this is probably just an old ancient riverbed, so it's very rocky soil. And the water, you water it and it just perks into the ground very quickly, forcing the roots on the vines to go a little bit deeper because the water goes really quick. And you don't get as much fruit off the vines at that point, but you do get an intense fruit. And the Petite Sirah is the one grape that we really like producing ports with. We blend it, we make 100% Petite Sirah ports, because you have to realize that during the fermentation period, most table wines, like take Cabernet for instance, probably takes a good week, week and a half for it to really pick up its heavy red body and color and everything that's needed. But we don't have that luxury when we're making port. We might get 3-4 days of actual fermentation and skin contact. But with the Petite Sirah, especially from this vineyard, in just a couple days we have the rich, intense color, tannins, The acids are all there, which enables that particular port or that style of port to actually age for a couple decades because of everything is there within just a couple days. And that's really why we like using Petite Syrah. We used Cabernet on our 10-year-old tawny because after 10 years it's going to go brown, hence the name tawny. All that fruit will be oxidized out, and everything what you have is more of a nutty caramel characteristic. So it's a different style of port, and so we're not looking so much for that heavy red deep color because it's not going to be there by the time it goes into the bottle. Not all ports are meant to put on the shelf and continue to develop. The vintage styles, the ones that we make from the Petite Syrah, the ones that we pull out of the barrel within 2 to 3 years, those are the ones that will continue to develop on the shelf. Those are the vintage style ports. And then you get into the wood ports, which are always named after their color. The tawny, white, and the third one, which we don't make here, is a ruby. Those have reached full maturity in the barrel. They're ready to drink the day the customer buys it. However, you can hold on to it for many more years, but you're not aging it, you're just basically holding on to it. After my parents returned from Portugal back in the early 90s, Dad came back and said, boys, we're making a white port, and that started our production of Aria, which is made from 100% Napa Valley Chardonnay, aged for 3.5 years in the barrel. And next year we'll be getting ready to release our first 8-year-old or 8-year in the barrel white port. So we're very excited about that.